Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're cracking open the vault on a tech company that, well, at its highest point was worth more than Facebook.
Mhm.
Yet, it's still kind of opaque to a lot of us in the West. Our mission,
Yeah,
a real deep dive into Tencent.
it really is the silent giant.
Yeah.
You might not use it directly, but close to 1 billion people, they rely on it every single day.
For everything.
Pretty much everything. Talking, playing games, paying for stuff, booking a taxi, even, interacting with government services. If you want to understand digital life in China today, you just have to understand Tencent.
And it's weird, the paradox starts right away with the founder, Pony Mama Huateng. You think about the typical Western tech founder story.
Right.
The big personalities, the constant spotlight, the almost star power.
Yeah, the Steve Jobs or Elon Musk types.
Exactly. And Pony Ma, he's the complete opposite.
Totally. He's the quiet architect. While, other CEOs are battling for headlines, Ma has spent decades, actively avoiding the spotlight.
Deliberate.
Oh, absolutely deliberate. He rarely talks to the press. His focus is just obsessive on operations, on engineering, on the product flow. And this low profile, it wasn't just his personality, it was strategic.
Strategic defense.
You could call it that.
Yeah.
Especially later on, navigating the, let's say, complex political environment we'll get into.
Yeah.
His focus was always on making the product work, making the user experience solid. And that became the bedrock, really, the foundation for Tencent's incredible success.
So our mission today, for you, the learner, is to trace this really unique path. We want to understand how this different kind of tech giant came about. One that didn't just, copy Silicon Valley, but built something completely tailored to its local culture, pioneering that whole super app idea that, honestly, the West is only now trying to catch up with.
Scrambling to emulate is right.
So we're unpacking this quiet revolution, starting right at the beginning.
Okay, let's do it. Let's rewind. Back to 1978. And some pretty humble roots that I think really shaped his very pragmatic view of the world.
Right, Pony Ma, born 1978 in Shantou, Guangdong, which back then was pretty far from China's political centers or, any tech hubs.
Yeah, definitely not Beijing or Shanghai.
Yeah.
And our sources suggest, unlike, say, Bill Gates tinkering with early computers, Ma just didn't have that kind of access growing up. It wasn't his reality.
So what was his reality?
Well, pretty grounded. His dad worked at a port, stable middle-class life. But tech wasn't really front and center in the household. What stood out, though, even then, was this intense, quiet curiosity.
The Pony nickname.
Exactly. It came from his habit of just watching things, observing, and then really methodically figuring out how systems worked. He'd just sit and watch.
And then a really key moment. The family moves in the mid-'80s to Shenzhen.
Yeah, and that move was incredibly important. You have to remember what Shenzhen was becoming.
The fishing village to tech hub story.
Right, but on hyperdrive. It went from this sleepy town to a special economic zone, a booming tech-focused city, basically built from scratch. Ma literally grew up watching this explosion happen right outside his window.
Wow.
It must have given him this deep sense, of rapid change, massive growth, but also maybe the instability that comes with it.
So he stays in Shenzhen, studies computer science at the university there.
And even then, classmates remember him as, quiet, careful, not the guy with the grand revolutionary plans, more focused on the actual skills, the engineering.
After graduating, he worked in tech support development for telecom companies, learning the ropes from the inside.
Pretty much. Absorbing the nuts and bolts of how China's communication networks actually functioned, which turned out to be vital knowledge.
Okay, so fast forward to the late 90s, the internet's starting to catch on in China.
Right, but Ma sees this big inefficiency. Most of the services, the software, was all built with Western users in mind.
He notices ICQ, right? That Israeli messaging app that was huge everywhere.
Yeah, ICQ was revolutionary. But Ma spotted the flaw for China.
What was it specifically?
Well, think about it. Language. Western users type with, 26 letters? Chinese involves thousands of complex characters. Early internet interfaces, keyboards, they were just clunky, really slow for typing Chinese. ICQ worked, technically, but it wasn't efficient, and it felt, culturally kind of alien.
So he saw an opportunity for something tailored.
Exactly. A messaging service built for Chinese input, for Chinese social norms.
Yeah.
He figured that would win.
So 1998, right in the middle of the Asian financial crisis, which seems like a crazy time to start a company.
Definitely risky. He and 3 co-founders scraped together, what was it, $120,000? Borrowed from family friends. None of them had ever run a business before.
And their first product, OICQ, Open ICQ.
Pretty much. It wasn't radically inventive in terms of features. It basically copied ICQ's core functions. But the key was it was optimized for Chinese language, for how people there actually interacted online. It was about better execution for the local market, not invention.
And it worked. OICQ just took off.
Exploded is probably the right word. Millions of users, almost overnight. But, that kind of success brings its own problems. Huge problems, actually.
Two big ones right away, right? Which really show how fragile they were.
Yeah. First, the tech side. Their servers running on basically no money. They just couldn't handle the traffic. Constant scramble to upgrade, keep things running.
And the second, the legal threat.
Right. AOL, the internet giant back then, had bought ICQ. And they came after Tencent hard over the name OICQ, trademark infringement.
And Tencent had, zero budget for a legal fight with AOL?
Exactly zero. So the pragmatic choice, just changed the name, they rebranded to QQ. Smart move, really. But the bigger cliff was looming. Money.
The money crisis.
2000.
Yeah, this was make or break. Millions of users, tons of activity, and basically no income. They were burning through that initial borrowed cash fast. Our sources say they were about 3 months from being completely broke.
Wow. 3 months. Did the employees know? Most didn't. Ma kept it incredibly quiet, maintained that calm, stable front, while behind the scenes, he was desperately trying anything to make money.
What did they try? The standard stuff.
Yep. Banner ads, premium email accounts, basic subscriptions, the models that were working sort of in the West.
But not in China.
Not then. Chinese users just weren't accustomed to paying for online services. It wasn't the culture yet. The revenue was like pennies, literally pennies when they needed millions.
So this near-death experience, it must have really shaped Ma's thinking.
Oh, absolutely. It hammered home this core idea: protect the user base, keep them happy, but be utterly ruthless and flexible about how you make money from them. Their only real asset at that point was the sheer number of people using QQ.
And that sheer number was enough to get investors interested, finally.
Barely. In early 2000, they managed to convince IDG Capital and PCCW to take a huge risk.
To save, how much did they put in?
$2.2 million. But it cost Tencent a lot, 40% of the company.
Wow, 40% for $2.2 million, but it saved them.
Absolutely. And the timing was incredible. That deal closed just as the global .com bubble was bursting. If it had been a few weeks later, Tencent probably wouldn't exist today. They survived.
Yeah.
But, the fundamental problem was still there.
Right. How do you actually turn all those eyeballs into real sustainable money?
Exactly. That $2.2 million bought them time, maybe a year's worth. But it was crystal clear that the American ad model, the banner ads, that wasn't going to cut it.
Pennies when they needed millions. I like that.
It sums it up. So Ma and his team, they had to look away from Silicon Valley. They had to just watch their users really closely, clinically almost.
And they noticed something different about how Chinese users, especially the young ones, the teenagers, were using QQ.
Yeah, this is where, like you said, it gets really interesting. For these users, QQ wasn't just a tool to send messages. It was their main social space.
Yeah.
Their digital identity.
Their online home, particularly maybe in rapidly changing cities where physical hangouts weren't always easy.
Could be. The point is, their QQ identity was a core part of who they were online. It wasn't just functional, it was emotional.
So the identity itself became the asset.
Precisely. Western tech often saw identity as data to be mined for ads. Tencent started seeing it as something users would actually, invest in, emotionally and financially.
And the pivot came from customizing the penguin. Seriously.
It sounds trivial, right?
Yeah.
Users were getting frustrated. They couldn't change the look of the default QQ penguin avatar that represented them.
So they're on the brink of bankruptcy. And the big idea is virtual hats for penguins. It sounds kind of nuts.
It does. But Ma saw that user frustration, that desire for personalization, as a powerful signal. It wasn't about the hat itself. It was about self-expression, social signaling. Status.
Status.
That's the key. So 2002, they pivot hard into virtual goods. They start selling little digital items, clothes, backgrounds, accessories for the penguin avatars. And they price them really low, just a few yuan, pennies, basically.
But pennies multiplied by millions of users.
Exactly. And crucially, these weren't just cosmetic tweaks. They became digital status symbols. You could tell someone's dedication, or maybe their disposable income, by how decked out their penguin was.
There's that anecdote, right? The college student.
Yeah, spending her whole month's allowance on, a rare virtual outfit for her penguin.
Yeah.
Just to show off to her friends online. The value wasn't the item, it was the social recognition.
In a society maybe where physical status symbols were harder for young people to get, digital status was achievable.
You nailed it. And the economics behind this were just revolutionary for the time.
Yeah.
Especially compared to advertising.
Let's break that down. The economics of status. Why was it so much better than ads?
Okay, think about selling physical goods. You've got manufacturing costs, inventory, shipping, returns.
Right, lots of overhead.
Virtual goods, none of that. Once an artist designs a virtual hat or a cool background, Tencent could sell that same digital item millions of times. The cost to produce the second hat or the millionth hat is essentially zero. Maybe some tiny server cost. This meant their profit margins on these virtual goods were insane, like well over 90%.
90%, compared to single digits for banner ads.
Absolutely crushed it.
Yeah.
They realized they weren't selling ad space, they were selling identity, desire, status, things people would willingly pay for, even if it was just a little bit at a time.
And they didn't start with just avatars, right? They built out a whole virtual economy.
Yeah, they layered it. They added digital gifts, virtual flowers, chocolates, little tokens you could buy and send to friends. Again, tiny cost, but huge volume.
Tapping into social rituals.
Exactly. Like on Valentine's Day, they'd make a fortune just from millions of people sending virtual roses to each other, each rose costing a few cents, but scaled up. Massive revenue.
And then came the membership model, VIP status.
Right. Keep the basic QQ chat free for everyone that was crucial, but offer a paid monthly VIP subscription. This gave users exclusive items, special features, maybe a different colored name, more status signals, and it provided steady, predictable, recurring income.
So by 2003, this whole system, avatars, gifts, VIP, it was generating millions.
Yeah, they'd found their gold mine. While Silicon Valley was still licking its wounds from the dot-com crash and trying to make ads work, Tencent had built this incredibly profitable high-margin engine completely based on understanding their users' social needs. It was brilliant, really. Okay, so the virtual goods model was working great, generating cash, but Pony Ma knew, one-hit product doesn't make an empire. QQ chat was huge, but user habits change.
People move on to the next thing, especially entertainment.
Exactly. If users started spending more time playing games outside of QQ, then eventually they might leave QQ altogether. So Tencent had to expand. They had to capture that entertainment time.
Which led them to video games, which seems like another huge leap, right? A market they knew absolutely nothing about.
Yeah, and it was already crowded. There were big global players, established Korean companies, local Chinese developers. It looked really risky. Why jump into that?
Strategic necessity. Keep users inside the ecosystem.
That was the core driver. Keep them engaged, keep them spending time and money within the Tencent world. But how they entered the market, that was the genius part. It wasn't about trying to be the most innovative game developer overnight.
Okay, strategy one, don't build it, license it.
Precisely. Instead of spending years and millions trying to build blockbuster games from scratch, something they had zero experience in, they took a shortcut. They licensed existing popular games, mostly from South Korean developers who were really advanced in online games back then.
So critics probably jumped on that, right? Oh, they're just copying again.
Oh, for sure. Let's talk about lack of originality. But Ma didn't care about winning awards for innovation. He was building a system, a distribution machine. Why reinvent the wheel, he figured, when you can license a proven hit game in like 6 months and plug it straight into your gigantic user base?
Which brings us to strategy two, that distribution advantage.
The killer advantage. This was the unfair edge. Every single person using QQ
Millions and millions.
was already there. Already had an account, already had friends on the platform. They automatically became a potential gamer. No need to download separate software, create a new login. It was seamless.
So their cost to acquire a new gamer.
Almost zero. Think about it. Other game companies had to spend huge amounts on marketing, advertising, trying to lure players in. Tencent, their players were already there, inside QQ.
Yeah.
They just had to nudge them towards the games.
Which means their profit potential per player was way higher.
Much, much higher. They first tested this with simpler casual games like QQ Fantasy around 2003. And crucially, they linked these games directly to your QQ friends list, your chat groups.
Making it social from the start.
Exactly. Gaming wasn't some separate solitary activity. It was something you did with your existing QQ friends. It felt like a natural extension of chatting.
I remember hearing that quote. I started playing because my whole chat group was already there.
That sums it up perfectly. It was effortless, social proof, and onboarding.
And the money followed. Gaming became a huge new revenue stream.
Massive. It diversified their income away from just virtual goods. And this financial success, combined with the chat revenue, set them up for their IPO in 2004.
Right. They listed on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, raised $200 million.
Yep. And with that new capital, they really doubled down on Ma's small bet strategy for expansion.
Explain that, instead of one huge acquisition.
They made lots of smaller investments, buying minority stakes, maybe 10–20%, in promising game developers, mostly across Asia at first.
Why that approach?
Ma said something like they wanted to make many smaller investments, learn from each, and slowly build our skills. It was like running their own internal VC fund. It gave them early access to new games, exclusive licensing rights sometimes, market intelligence, all without the massive risk of a full buyout initially. They learned the industry from the inside.
And this small bets approach eventually led to a massive global win, Riot Games.
Yes, League of Legends. This was the big one. In 2008, they took a controlling stake in Riot, the LA-based developer. Then, by 2011, they bought the whole company.
For about $400 million, right?
Yeah, which sounds like a lot, but in hindsight, it was an absolute steal. League of Legends became a global phenomenon. Hundreds of millions of monthly players, worth many, many billions.
So that $400 million was just a fraction of its eventual value.
Tiny fraction. But it wasn't just about the money. Buying Riot gave Tencent a premier Western-developed game, deep insights into the global gaming market, monetization outside China. It cemented them as a true global gaming powerhouse, not just a domestic player.
Okay, so they'd conquered chat, virtual goods, and now gaming, mostly on the desktop. They seemed unstoppable.
Seemed that way. But the ground was about to shift under their feet faster than anyone expected. The biggest threat yet was just around the corner.
Right around 2010? Yeah. Just as Tencent looked like this unshakable empire built on desktop QQ. Boom. Smartphones happened.
And suddenly the desktop started looking, well, less relevant. Fast.
Extremely fast. QQ was their heart, their cash cow. But these new mobile-first messaging apps were popping up globally. Care, WhatsApp, Viber. They were gaining millions of users, purely on mobile. And the fear was, if everyone moves their digital life from their PC to their phone, and Tencent doesn't have the dominant mobile app,
then the whole QQ ecosystem collapses. The virtual goods, the game integrations, the social status tied to your QQ account, all of it could just evaporate if users migrated en masse to a competitor's mobile platform. It was a genuine existential threat.
So how did Pony Ma react? Panic.
Well, maybe internally, but outwardly his response was decisive. A small, forward-thinking team apparently warned him early about the mobile wave. And he didn't hesitate. He greenlit a project to build a mobile native messenger immediately.
And he encouraged competition internally.
Yeah, that was smart. He actually let multiple teams within Tencent work on mobile messaging ideas simultaneously. Sort of bake-off. Let the best product win, even if it competed with their existing QQ mobile efforts.
The winner, the one that became WeChat, was led by Alan Zhang, another quiet, product-focused guy.
Seems to be the Tencent mold, doesn't it? Zhang was given apparently a lot of freedom and a crazy tight deadline. Just a few months to get something out the door.
And Ma made a critical decision. Build something completely new, right? Not just QQ Mobile V2.
Yes, strategic independence. That was key. Ma insisted WeChat, or Weixin as it was called in China, initially be built from the ground up. Why? Because just shrinking QQ down to mobile would have brought all its old baggage, its desktop-era design choice.
It's starting fresh. Let them rethink messaging purely for the phone.
Exactly. Design it for the mobile context, mobile behaviors.
Weixin launched in January 2011. Pretty basic at first.
Yeah, simple messaging. But the killer feature, the one that really drove insane growth, landed a few months later in May 2011. Voice messaging.
The voice clips. Why was that so revolutionary?
It solved that fundamental problem we talked about earlier, but now on a tiny phone screen, typing thousands of Chinese characters on those early, often fiddly smartphone keyboards. Yeah. It was painful, really difficult, especially for older users or people less tech-savvy.
Voice messaging just bypassed that whole problem. Hold the button, talk, send.
Total game changer. It just removed all the friction. Suddenly, people who struggle with typing could communicate easily. Older generations jumped on it, people in rural areas. It just exploded.
So within months, you start hearing these little WeChat voice messages playing everywhere in Chinese cities.
Pretty much. It became the standard way to quickly communicate. And it immediately made WeChat feel different, more useful in the local context than global competitors like WhatsApp, which were still very text-heavy.
Growth numbers were crazy, right?
Astronomical. Launched January 2011. By August 2012, so just over a year and a half later, WeChat hit 100 million users. It completely validated Ma's risky bet on launching a new product that could have, theoretically, cannibalized his own QQ user base.
But the vision was bigger than just replacing QQ messages with voice messages.
Oh, way bigger. While Western companies were mostly building single-purpose apps, one for chat, one for photos, one for payments, etc., Ma and Alan Jiang saw WeChat differently from the start.
As a platform.
As the platform, the central hub where users would do basically everything digital. It wasn't just about chat. It was about building the foundation for an entire ecosystem. The super app concept was baked in early on, right? So WeChat had the users. Massive growth. The next step, really starting around 2013, was to transform it from just a chat app into this true, all-encompassing ecosystem. And two big features really kicked that off.
Okay, feature one, official accounts. What was the idea there?
This was the move to make WeChat not just P2P communication, but also a content and service platform. Official accounts let businesses, media outlets, government agencies, even celebrities set up their own verified presence inside WeChat.
So like a Facebook page, but integrated into your chat app?
Kind of, but much deeper. You'd follow these accounts like you follow friends. Suddenly, WeChat became your newsreader, your way to interact with brands, get customer service, even access government forms or information, all without ever leaving the app. Start pulling all these different online activities into one place.
Okay, that's big. But feature two. This sounds like pure genius, tapping into culture. Digital red envelopes. Hongbao.
Ah, yes. This was the masterstroke. Absolutely brilliant. It took this ancient, deeply ingrained Chinese tradition, giving cash gifts in red packets, especially during Chinese New Year.
Everyone does it.
Exactly. And Tencent just digitized it. In 2013, they launched a feature letting users send these hongbao electronically to friends and groups within WeChat.
This is a fun gimmick for the holiday.
It looked like that on the surface.
Yeah.
But strategically, it was a Trojan horse, a genius way to build a massive payment network almost overnight.
How? Because to send or receive the money?
You had to link your bank account to your WeChat account. Suddenly, millions upon millions of people who might have been wary about connecting bank details to an app were doing it willingly, enthusiastically, because it was part of this fun, social, cultural activity.
The numbers were staggering, weren't they?
Insane. That first New Year, something like 8 million users exchanged over 400 million digital red envelopes. Boom. Just like that, Tencent had created this enormous, active, peer-to-peer payment network. It bypassed years of potential regulatory hassle and consumer inertia.
And WeChat Pay wasn't just for sending money between friends anymore.
No, it rapidly evolved. By 2014, it was becoming a full-fledged payment system. You could use WeChat Pay for everything, paying street vendors, big retailers, utility bills, movie tickets, all by just scanning a QR code with your phone.
It completely skips the whole Western reliance on credit cards, didn't it?
Just leapfrogged it entirely. QR code payments became the norm incredibly quickly.
That anecdote about the Beijing taxi driver.
Yeah, saying 5 years ago, everyone paid cash. Now I can't remember the last time someone handed me a bill. It perfectly illustrates how fast and how completely WeChat Pay transformed daily commerce. A centuries-old cash habit, practically gone in just a few years, thanks to this one app feature.
So when Western folks try to describe WeChat, they often say, oh, it's like Facebook plus WhatsApp plus Venmo plus Uber plus Amazon plus Instagram.
Right, the bundle comparison.
But you're saying that misses the point.
I think it does. Because WeChat wasn't designed as a bundle of separate things stuck together. It was conceived from early on as this single integrated layer of infrastructure for life.
An operating system for daily life.
That's a good way to put it. Every feature leverages the others. Your identity is tied to your payment, which is tied to the services you access through official accounts or mini programs. It all works together seamlessly. The reason it's so sticky is that leaving one part of the ecosystem means losing functionality in others. You book a doctor's appointment, pay your electricity bill, order food, chat with friends, read news, all within this one environment.
And the technical magic behind a lot of this later expansion was mini programs.
Yes, mini programs are kind of the engine that makes the super app truly super. They're basically tiny, lightweight apps that run inside WeChat itself.
So you don't download them from the Apple App Store or Google Play?
Nope, that's the revolutionary part. A restaurant, a bike-sharing service, a utility company, they can build a small mini program, maybe just a few megabytes. Users access it instantly within WeChat, use it, and close it. No big download, no cluttering up your phone's home screen.
And crucially, it keeps the user, the developer, and the transaction all inside WeChat's walled garden, bypassing Apple and Google.
Exactly. It gives Tencent immense control over the ecosystem. Users get instant convenience, developers get easy access to a huge user base, and Tencent gets the data and often a cut of the transactions. The scale now is enormous. Hundreds of millions of people using billions of mini programs every day.
Which is why Apple and Google are now trying to create their own versions, like app clips and instant apps.
Yep, playing catch-up again. Trying to replicate that seamless, integrated app within an app experience that WeChat pioneered years ago.
Okay, so WeChat is now this indispensable infrastructure. Billions of users controlling communication, commerce, services. Inevitably, this kind of power attracts attention, especially from the government.
Yeah, by around 2017, the sheer scale and influence of Tencent, particularly WeChat, became impossible for Beijing to ignore. The dynamic shifted from just business competition to political navigation.
And the first real public warning shot came that year, targeted at their gaming side.
Right. It wasn't WeChat directly, but their mega-hit mobile game, Honor of Kings. The People's Daily, the official voice of the Communist Party, published these scathing articles calling the game poison, a drug, blaming it for addiction among young people.
Strong language from the official paper.
It's extremely strong, and the market reaction was immediate and brutal. Tencent's stock price plummeted. They lost something like $14 billion in market value in just a couple of days.
Wow. A clear message. Doesn't matter how big you are.
You operate at the government's pleasure. So Ponyme's response here was critical and very characteristic.
No pushback. No arguing.
Absolutely not. Instead, proactive self-regulation. He understood you don't fight City Hall, you anticipate their concerns and address them before they become official mandates.
So what did they do?
Immediately, Tencent announced they were implementing their own limits on Honor of Kings. Kids under 12, capped at 1 hour of play per day. Teenagers, 2 hours. They basically said, we hear the concerns, we agree, and we're fixing it. It was about demonstrating responsibility, getting ahead of the curve.
But the pressure didn't stop there. 2018 brought the big one, the regulatory freeze on new game approvals.
Yeah, this was much broader and hit the entire industry, but Tencent was arguably the most affected. Beijing just stopped approving licenses for new video games for 9 months straight.
And you need that license to legally make money from a new game in China.
Correct. So no new monetized games for almost a year. The official reason was concerns about gaming addiction, myopia in children, issues President Xi Jinping himself had apparently raised.
The financial impact on Tencent must have been huge.
Massive. Their stock took another huge hit, losing over $200 billion in value at one point. They reported their first profit drop in something like 13 years. It was a clear demonstration of the state's power to throttle even its biggest tech champions.
So again, the choice, resist or adapt.
And again, Ma chose adaptation. Pragmatism over confrontation. In 2019, they rolled out significant technical systems. They started linking player accounts to the national ID database to verify ages rigorously. They implemented system-level blocks on nighttime gaming for minors, like literally cutting them off between 10 p.m. and 8 a.m.
That sounds technically complex and pretty invasive.
It was, but it showed they were serious about compliance. So when the government finally announced the official really strict anti-addiction rules in 2021, limiting minors to just 3 hours of gaming per week total.
3 hours a week.
Yeah. Tencent could basically say, we're already compliant, we built the tools to enforce this. They had positioned themselves as part of the solution, not the problem.
And this compliance strategy went beyond gaming into content moderation on WeChat too.
Absolutely. To avoid trouble over sensitive topics or inappropriate content being shared, Tencent invested enormous resources. We're talking like over 10,000 employees, plus sophisticated AI systems dedicated just to monitoring and filtering content.
Viewing it as a cost of doing business.
More than that. As a strategic necessity to maintain trust and their license to operate, build trust with the regulators.
And Pony Ma's famous low profile really helped here, didn't it? Especially compared to, say, Jack Ma at Alibaba.
Oh, hugely. Jack Ma's public criticisms of regulators in 2020 famously led to the cancellation of Ant Group's IPO and his own disappearance from public view for a while. Pony Ma learned from that. He kept his head down.
Focused his public statements on safe topics.
Exactly. Technology, AI, semiconductors, cloud computing, things that align with national development goals. He consistently positioned Tencent not as a disruptive force, but as a helpful digital assistant to the state and society.
Which paid off during the big tech crackdown in 2021.
Right. While other companies were getting hammered, Tencent proactively pledged billions, I think it was $7.7 billion, towards Xi Jinping's Common Prosperity Initiative, aligning themselves publicly and financially with the government's agenda. It was all about survival through adaptation and alignment.
So despite all that regulatory pressure, Tencent didn't just survive, they continued to innovate. And that old copycat label, It's just completely gone now, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely obsolete. And in fact, the interesting thing now is how the innovation flow has reversed. Silicon Valley is increasingly looking east and trying to copy Tencent's playbook.
We see it with Facebook, right? Trying to make WhatsApp and Instagram more like WeChat.
Definitely. Zuckerberg's been talking about that privacy-focused vision built around messaging, integrating commerce, and payments. That's basically the WeChat model they're trying to bolt onto their existing apps. They're playing catch-up to an integrated experience Tencent nailed years ago.
And technically, too, like with Apple's app clips or Google's instant apps trying to be mini programs.
Exactly. But it's harder for them because WeChat was built as an integrated system from the ground up, identity, payments, messaging, services, all in one place. Apple and Google were trying to add these features onto existing operating systems, which is just inherently clunkier, less seamless than WeChat's native approach.
And Tencent stays ahead not just by innovating internally, but through its massive global investment arm. That tech radar idea.
Yeah, that's a huge part of their strategy. They have investments in, what, over 800 companies around the world now?
Including some huge names, Epic Games, Spotify, Tesla, Snap.
Right, and this isn't just about financial returns, although those are often good. It's about intelligence gathering. It gives them this incredible early warning system.
Seeing what's coming next.
Exactly. They get frontline insights into new technologies, emerging business models, potential competitors, user trends, across pretty much every important market and tech sector globally. It ensures they don't get blindsided again, like they almost were by mobile back in 2010.
And internally, they're not just licensing games anymore. They have serious R&D operations.
Absolutely. Their AI labs are world-class, genuinely competing with labs in Silicon Valley or academia. They're doing fundamental research in machine learning, computer vision, NLP.
Some of their results are state-of-the-art, right? Like facial recognition.
Yeah, they've published results showing like 99.8% accuracy in certain conditions. They also have a dedicated Robotics X lab exploring how AI meets the physical world. This is deep R&D, way beyond just optimizing apps.
And what about the cloud business? Often overshadowed by WeChat.
It is, but Tencent Cloud is a serious player, especially in Asia. They're leveraging all that experience they have running massive scalable platforms like QQ and WeChat. They now operate data centers in, I think, over 70 zones across 26 regions globally. It's a major growth area for them, competing with Alibaba Cloud, AWS, Azure.
And finally, they're even moving into like city infrastructure, smart cities.
Yeah, this is fascinating. Leveraging their tech stack, AI, cloud, data analytics to help manage actual cities, things like optimizing traffic flow, public safety systems, environmental monitoring. They're doing this in dozens of Chinese cities.
And exporting that tech.
Increasingly, yes. Selling these smart city solutions to governments and developers in Southeast Asia, Africa. Positioning themselves not just as a consumer tech company, but as a fundamental infrastructure provider for the digital future, globally. Hashtag tag tag outro outro.
So when you pull it all together, the story of Tencent and Ponyma, it's not the standard narrative we're used to, is it? Success wasn't about being first or loudest.
Not at all. It was about maybe building something better for the specific context. Deeply understanding local culture, being incredibly adaptable, pivoting from near bankruptcy to virtual goods, then gaming, then mastering mobile with WeChat, and crucially navigating the complex political landscape through compliance.
And the core lesson here, maybe for you, the learner, is about the power of integration, of synthesis.
I think so. Tencent's real genius wasn't one single invention. It was creating that seamless, integrated ecosystem, the super app, that just made digital life incredibly easy and useful for hundreds of millions of people. They built the rails, the trusted infrastructure that everyone else is now trying to figure out how to copy.
Which brings us to that final provocative thought for you. We see Western tech giants now openly racing to build their own versions of the super app, trying to consolidate services.
The convergence is happening.
So, given the undeniable convenience, the utility of having one single app manage your payments, your identity, your social life, your news, maybe even your interactions with the government, essentially one operating system for your daily existence.
Yeah.
What are the deeper trade-offs?
Right. What are the societal implications, good and bad, of that kind of centralized power and data residing within one single corporate ecosystem? And maybe. Is it just inevitable that we all end up living inside one super app or another wherever we are in the world?
Something to think about, that trade-off. Ultimate convenience versus concentrated control.
Definitely food for thought next time you open up your go-to messaging app.
Indeed. That's all for this deep dive.